last thing we're going to do is we're going to do some things to sort of polish the interface, make the interface look a little bit better. And just to sort of demonstrate what that's going to look like, the main issues we have right now is that if we turn all the switches on and have all of the sliders all the way to the right, our view disappears. So we're going to add some code that creates a border around the view so that we can still see it even when we've got the color set to white. And it's also going to give the corners some round those off a little bit more, so the rounded corners give it a nice touch. The other thing we're going to do is when a switch is off, we actually don't want these sliders to do anything, because when a switch is off, the slider doesn't do anything. We actually, the code takes care of that, because it's only if the switch is on that the slider, that we care about the slider's value. So we're going to add something to the code that basically says the slider will only be able to be moved if the switch is on. And if it's off, it'll sort of be locked in place until we turn it back on again. So that's the last thing we're going to do. All right, this is the last section of the chapter here. Oh yeah, the other thing we're going to do, so this is how things are going to look once we're all done, is notice how we're going to get a black border with rounded edges around the view. And the other thing we want is we want all the sliders and switches to have the actual colors that they represent, red, green, and blue, to make so that it makes a little bit more sense what each of these switches and sliders do. All right, the first thing we want to do is we want to tint the switches. And they do a good job here in the book of showing you that there's two places you can add color. There's the thumb tint color, and then there's the on tint color. All we want to mess with is the on tint color. The thumb tint, is fine if it still looks white. If you wanted to change it to a different color, that's a choice you could make. But I think this looks nice when we have the white switch with sort of the background color when it's turned on of, hey, I'm on and now I'm red. So the way we're going to do that is I'm going to select my red switch. I'm going to make sure I've got the attribute inspector. And you can see right now the on tint and thumb tint are just set to default values. And so I'm going to select the on tint. And you can get some colors here, but the best way to really do this and make sure that we've got the color that makes sense is we're going to go to Custom, and I'm going to go to the color sliders, which is sort of exactly what we're using here. And I want my red to be all the way up and my green and blue to be all the way down. So, it is red slider, so I want it to be red. So that is the color that I want. And I think we should be able to, yeah. And now it's set to this custom color. So I'm going to do the same thing for the other one. So now the green switch, on tint color, custom, and this time we're going to do green all the way up. And then for the blue switch, we're going to do blue. So now each of these switches, when you turn them on, will be red, green, and blue. So now let's do the same thing for the sliders. So for the sliders, now we have three different colors where you can have the min track, the max track, and the thumb tint. And just to go back to the book, so we have the min track color. That's the sort of the left side when it's turned more on. The max track tint color, and then the thumb tint color. We want the min track tint color, and we're going to set it to those same red, green, and blue values. So that's the min track here, and I'm just going to do those same steps. It looks like you could also, now that I've set each of those colors, um, you may have some other recently used colors here from past programs, but it should be the three that are sort of on the left here, your red, green, and blue. So you can either go down to custom again and do the sliders, or you can just select, now that we've used these colors once, they should show up in your recently used colors. So red, and this is nice because as soon as we set it, since these are on right now, we'll see those colors actually show up, red, green, and blue. And so now we've got these are going to look a little bit nicer. It's going to make more sense for them to be the colors they represent.